bro, Egghead is over, right? We got Vegapunk's yapping is over. Saturn got packed. We got Garland. But like, before we even get to that, because there's a lot to talk about, we don't have much time. I think Egghead was good, really good. But something about that ending, when I think about the ending, I'm starting to realize, was Egghead actually, was it really like, is it the best? Yeah, it's not that I'm not feeling it, right? At first I was saying like 9 out of 10, right? 9.5 out of 10. And I'm thinking about how it was ending in them last couple of chapters. And I'm just like, is it really more of an 8? Is it like an 8, 8.5, maybe 8? Like, how did you feel about the ending?
I think we got to put in perspective, right? So how do you look at Dressrosa? How do you look at Whole Cake Island? How do you look at Wano? And I think that's easy. That's where you kind of start with it, right? Where, all right, when you think back to Dressrosa, what do you rate Dressrosa?
7.58.
7.58.
Yeah.
What do you rate Whole Cake Island?
I give Whole Cake an 8 too.
Whole Cake is an 8. We give
7.58. Yeah, same thing. Wano is Wano like a 6.5. 6.5.
So when you look at these, it's like 6.5 for Wano. Then basically Whole Cake and Dressrosa 8. I think Egghead is easily better than Dressrosa and Whole Cake.
I agree.
Right? Where I think also we forget what happened. Because like we got, and stuff outside of Egghead is still Egghead. We're still enjoying it within that arc. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Shanks and Kid, got Law and Blackbeard, we got Garp and Aokiji, we got the whole Kuma backstory, we got the Bonnie storyline, we got the Gorosei pulling up. I think Egghead feels lackluster because of within Egghead, how some of the conclusions happen. You're like, like regardless of if you're an Admiral or Yonko, there's no way you like the Kizaru versus Luffy fight or loved it. You're like, cool interaction. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? And Zoro versus Lucci, it was cool. Like, there aren't many interactions within Egghead that you're like, that was crazy. It doesn't feel like that. Then you have the Seraphim, right? Where it's like the Seraphim versus Luffy and Zoro and Lucci and it's like, damn, they can't beat the Seraphim? So it kind of, bro, it's like, it's crazy because it's like I think that's what it is, where like a lot of the action moments within Egghead, it was so lackluster. You feel like, all right, like I enjoy Egghead as an arc, but there aren't many moments within Egghead, outside of Egghead, where I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like we were really hyped for the Gorosei pulling up. Like all of them pulling up in that panel, we were like, this is about to be nuts. Then the Gorosei, they kind of ass.
So I'm glad you got onto that, because when I was really thinking about the Gorosei on stream, because normally like I like to read One Piece for what it is nowadays, and I started to crash out when I started talking about the Gorosei, because I'm like, bro, we had this ominous, hyper political, always 3 steps ahead type of vibe with the Gorosei, right? So we always had this perception. Egghead destroyed my perception, bro. Completely annihilated the perception of the Gorosei, bro. I'm telling you.
It's so tough because you admit that you have to admit that they're strong, they're formidable, right?
Of course.
Because you can hurt them. But as far as fighters, were you really impressed? Were you really like, man, these guys are... No, you're just like, all right, we can't hurt them. They just, once we find out how to hurt them, it's over. It's over. Right? And that's why like when you say Wano's the 6.5, it's so tough because you have somebody like Kaido in Wano.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I don't think Kaido was handled the best. You know what I'm saying? I think Kaido, we were talking about this last night. I think Kaido lived up to the hype.
He did.
Like, as far as like what you expected Kaido to be. But as a character, you still feel like, bro, it feels like so much meat left on the bone with that character. Like it just feels like it almost hurts when you think about Kaido, because like, bro, you could have done so much shit with this character. You end up just making him a meathead at the end of the day.
And the thing is, it's like he might have been better off as a meathead.
Just
in general, just a meathead, because I would have been okay with it. I think with Kaido, from a fighting standpoint, like you said, he delivered everything you wanted from Kaido. You got it, but like, it's because there was a little bit extra that Oda was hinting to. It's like, oh, there's something in there.
You're like, there's something. Best villain. He has the potential to be the best villain in One Piece.
He had it. He had that trajectory, top 1 villain trajectory. And then when you see the backstory, it's just like all the hints and all the stuff that Oda was giving us ahead of time, it turned out into nothing. Like you said, he left meat on the bone. It's like, you telling me I'm about to have a full rack of ribs and you give me half a rack and no barbecue sauce. I'm like, all right, bro, like what's, like the ribs
bro,
was good.
You know what it is? The ribs, they brought it out. It looked succulent, right? It looked succulent, right? And then you start eating the front part of the rib. It's like, damn, this is falling off the bone.
Yeah.
And you think you got like, you're like, oh, that's half the rib. On the back, this shit hard. You're like, damn.
Ain't no more
that
meat,
was
bro.
it. That was the rib. That was it.
Yo.
And
Oh my God.
Bro, we've all been there where we're eating, right? And
Right,
the worst thing is not knowing that's the last one.
Yes, bro.
Right? Not like, even if you eat some chips, right? The worst thing is not knowing like that's the last chip. And you reach your hand in the bag and you're like, oh, fuck. I would have savored that one.
Exactly.
If I knew that was the last one.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's with Kaido, bro. Like I said, it started off crazy. He was talking crazy to Luffy. And I think with villains, sometimes we kind of associate how good a villain is with how competent they are, how accomplished they are, and what they can get done. Kaido had all that checked, for sure. So with Kaido, it's just about the character side. How do you handle his interactions with Yamato? He had some great interactions. He had some Yamato, when they were having their conversations, like he was cooking her, because she couldn't hang with him when they were talking, because he was like, yo, you are so ignorant, you have no idea what you're talking about. Even in the backstory, when he was like, Dad, you just gonna leave me here? Dad, I thought you were Odin.
I thought you was, yo, I'm telling you, that had me howling, bro. Petty, bro.
Right? And so it's just like, okay, Kaido he's savvy, he knows how to operate, but then you start getting with the Luffy shit, and it's just like, oh, it's about the fight, it's about this. It gets real simple. And then when Kaido gets defeated, it's just like, oh, damn, okay, I guess that's it. And now it's no explanation, right? He might be dead. I'm like, bro, why would you even bring Kaido back? For what?
Yeah, you shouldn't. I don't think there's no need.
Unless you have him be just this person's flying around with no care in the world, you'd have to give me some more character stuff to explain like why Kaido doesn't care anymore all of a sudden. Yeah. Is it because Joy Boy beat him? Is that where it goes? Because Luffy has to be Joy Boy? That's the only person I don't know. It's like, it just feels incomplete, bro. It feels incomplete. And where Wano, going back to it, being a 6, I can see it, 6.5. For me, I think the anime helped me personally with Wano, because I don't know if you separate it. I don't know if you separate manga Wano from anime Wano. I kind of look at it all together. So like, for me as a whole, I mean, I think Roof Piece was some of the best shit in One Piece ever.
In the anime was, it's the best. Yeah.
We got some of the best episodes in One Piece ever from Wano. So sometimes it's hard to separate it. If I'm going to strictly off manga for Wano, it's probably like a 6.5 for me.
And that's what I would say.
It's probably like a 6.5 for me.
So then, taking your feelings for Wano and then taking it to Egghead. One, I think Act 1, Act 2, most people didn't like Act 2 just in general. So like, Wano was massive, so it's really hard to just like take Roof Piece and say, all right, because of Roof Piece, it's 10 out of 10. Because if you just add Roof Piece, Wano should be like default 8. But there were some things in 1, 2, and 3, Big Mom's amnesia, the Scabbard's a little lackluster. Like, there's a lot of things. So like, that's why Wano's
the longest arc by far too.
It's a long arc. So then when you compare that to Egghead, nowhere near as long, right? So I think you can take the big moments and the hype moments and actually validate it being an 8 or a 9. Like, that's fine. I just feel like the ending, it was good, but it got stale. I think Egghead got stale at the end, and that's fine. No arc is 100% perfect. Oda Sabaody, you got Ennis Lobby, Marineford, you got some perfect endings and stuff like that. But like, Vegapunk, a lot of people have issues with Vegapunk and his yapping. Yeah. How did you feel about that? Did Vegapunk yapping get stale to you? Did it bother you? Were you like, all right, wrap it up?
What I did not like was, it was a lot of yapping, and for the audience, me, it was no substance. Like, it's cool finding out that the world is gonna sink and has been sinking, something that we figured already. for the most part. But I felt like a lot of the more important things, it got cut off, right? And so when you think about the biggest thing that Vegapunk said, it was like, oh, the world is gonna sink. Oh, the ancient weapons, the One Piece. I'm just like, yeah, I feel like shit I already know. Then he talks about the Will of D. Oh, by the way, the Will of D. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, give the people of the world something, then give us something. I feel like Oda didn't give us anything, really, when it comes to that. It was just like, oh, the shock is for the people within the One Piece world. And he was talking a lot. It was a bunch of different chapters. And so it's just like, you start to get kind of disconnected because you're like, all right, so what's for me, bro? What's for me? And then you realize by the end of it, it's not really for us. It's for the reactions from the people within the story. And it's like, all right, that's cool. Right. But like, it does not live up to the hype of what you expected Vegapunk to say. And there were things that he was gonna say or to cut it off. And that makes things so difficult and with the ending, with the Gorosei, it felt like Oda was just buying time. Like he was like, okay, we can't defeat them, so let's have them do shit. And the Gorosei was doing shit, then he had Luffy, and he had the Giants, and he had the Marines just being incompetent as usual.
Yeah, man.
And it was just like, just a whole bunch of shit. And it's like, you kind of felt like, okay, this is stalling for the Straw Hats to get away. And because you know the Straw Hats get away.
Yeah, like, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Like, okay. And then
you just knew it was
I can understand for some people, after all that, bro, you see like, oh, all the Vegapunks, all of them are fine. None of them died. They're all okay. You're like, wait, so no casualties? Like even Sentomaru was like fucking sailing away.
Sailing away, bro.
Casualties? Bro, Sentomaru got impaled by Rob Lucci. Right?
He did.
Came back, fought Kizaru.
Got washed by him.
Got what? And he's still good? He's still just sailing away?
And he's rowing too. He's not even like sailing, bro. He's rowing, bro.
And I think, again, for Egghead and for Wano and for a lot of these arcs, it's the same thing. Tension. It's like, I'm not asking for people to die, but I would, bro, just some feeling of danger.
Consequences, yeah.
A little bit. Just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel the danger with the Straw Hats. There's no danger. I'm trying to think in Egghead when we felt danger. I can't really think of a moment in Egghead where we felt that. And I think that adds to it when it's just like the conclusions are, oh, everybody's okay. And so you feel like, all right, it's cool. That was nice. And for me, like, I think how they wrapped up things for the last 3 chapters or so, it's like, oh, Vegapunk knew about it, and like the York shit. I'm like, okay, that made me feel better about Vegapunk being a dumbass, because he really wasn't a dumbass. Like he had all these things prepped. So I feel better about that, but you still can't help but think about some of the conclusions with the fights and just in general, the lack of tension. And it's like, oh, it's a Yonko crew. I'm like, yeah, but you have to balance that. Yeah. No matter how strong the Straw Hats get, you have to balance that. And Luffy running out of energy, that doesn't do anything for anybody. It just annoys people.
It's a gimmick that Oda's used so much that people, they just expect it to happen, but they know Luffy's gonna get out of it. You know, it started happening with Katakuri. I mean, hell, it started with Lucci in Gear 3. You know, Chibi Luffy, right?
Bro.
So it's just like
consequence. It just happens, and it's like, oh, Luffy's out of Gear 5. Oh, Kizaru's out too, so it's fine. It's like
I think my issue was when I look, because we were talking about the Gorosei and how we look at them differently, and I'm thinking about Top Man, probably, you know, the guy with the Conqueror's Haki scream, Luffy can't hurt him. Like, okay, you got some respect for Top Man, right? Top Man is interesting. I mean, I call him Shai Halud, but you're talking about the worm. What's Jupiter? Is that him? The guy, Sanji's dad? Yeah. Ass. Just ass. He don't do nothing but suck, and that's it. He don't do anything, right?
He was
Garbage.
Bad.
He was bad, bro.
Yeah,
bro,
he had a
trash.
nice smile though. Great teeth.
Yeah, that's it.
Other than
good
that,
dentures.
Really,
yeah. Waste of time, bro. Saint Marcus got hold. Like Saint Mars. Yeah, my bad. Not Marcus. Hey, no, it is Marcus.
Marcus Mars, right? Is Marcus Mars?
Marcus Mars. Yeah, Marcus Mars. Yeah. Bro, got hold. Team Rocket, Scooby Doo, bro.
I think the person that people got most excited for was like Noshijuro, because he got the blade and he looked cool. Like his hybrid transformation. But then again, it leads to nothing because he doesn't really do.
He's not allowed to flex.
Bro, he was cutting down like fodder the entire time. And I think that's the issue where it's like, the Straw Hats are protected. And again, the Straw Hats are an OP crew, like someone is mentioning. Yeah, they're OP. But like, okay, as the author, you got to manage that, right? You got to manage that. Where it's like, bro, something I've been writing for a while now is, what if Yamato went with the Straw Hats? And I'm just like, dog, imagine Yamato with this crew.
Yeah, that would be so toxic.
Imagine Yamato. It would be hella toxic because of the conversations around Yamato. I think the silver lining would be you get to experience like Yamato learning different things. So Oda would have a chance to somewhat redo the character and have her find her own sense of self, right?
Exactly.
That I think that would be the silver lining if Yamato came. So like she's experiencing these different things. She's like, all right, like I don't know if Odin liked this, but I like this. So it's like you could kind of play with that.
That's true. A different experience outside of Odin. She'd experience things outside of Wano, Odin. I agree. I think that would be great for her character.
That would have been. I didn't even think about that. Would have been cool. But the Straw Hats crew, I mean, they're overpowered. And it sounds crazy to say because of how long we've been like, oh my gosh, like why they still, but at this point, I'm not gonna lie, it was an Egghead. I think I didn't feel that the world government had a chance, especially after Kizaru went down. I was like, all right, what are we doing? Like, it's like, there's no chance here. And then after the Giants pulled up, I was like, bro, they have no chance here. Like they about to get rolled, and they did. And there's no casualties. And so for Egghead, I appreciate I guess how tight the arc is. Even as the I feel like the last 10 chapters or so drag, I feel like it was saved by the last 3. The Gorosei stuff, it was like, that's cool. It was still like, 60 something chapters, something like that, as opposed to like 200 and 150. It was like, okay, it's compact. I just think Oda should have done a better job with Luffy versus Kizaru, because that was, you can't, bro. And Oda continuously does this, where it's like, you have big names in the same vicinity. I'm talking about like, it's an insane title card. And then it's really just like Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao when they 50. It's just, it doesn't move. It doesn't move you. And if somebody's saying story over fighting, 1000%. 1000%. But the fighting, that's part of the conclusion.
I was just about to say, the issue I have with that statement is that the fighting is part of the story. If the fight is good, the story is good. Nobody wants to see a fight that's lackluster because it devalues the story. Like, the fight itself is a part of the story. If the fight is quality, it's part of the story. It's like Rob Lucci versus Lucci. And this lobby is so highly elevated because the fight was very emotional. It was good. It's extremely technical. It was written well.
It adds to the story. It adds to the story. You feel like Luffy had to overcome a lot, and it adds to who Luffy is. You see Usopp versus Luffy, right? Not a crazy fight in terms of like, the flashy shit, but just emotionally, it hits everywhere and it adds to the story. I don't think it has to be a situation where, it has to be just insane choreography, but imagine how much better it'd be if like you had Luffy and Kizaru actually throwing hands, going back and forth, destroying all this different stuff where it's impacting people. Like, oh my God, like Luffy is actually doing it with an Admiral, and then people are like, oh shit, an Admiral's actually fighting against a Yonko. You feel the impact of the moment of Luffy achieving that status. I feel like the only time I felt that was the initial clash. When Luffy pulled up and he's like, okay. Okay, we're here now. And then you get their interactions and it gets kind of dumbed down to like somewhat gags and jokes. I'm just like, bro, like, we finally have an Admiral and a Yonko fighting, and it's jokes, it's games, it's gimmicks. I'm just like, I don't know. For me, it takes away from the moment. But it's like, people are like, you just want like fights. No, bro, but like, you got to think about the impact of like what the Admirals have done to Luffy this entire time.
Yes.
And like how Oda's built him up. Like, you need just like those moments to like where Luffy has arrived. I don't feel like outside of that initial clash, it feels like it got watered down to me. Yes. So I don't know.
And then I kind of want the chat to think about something, right? Imagine Luffy, take Kizaru out of it and then throw Akainu there. And think about the emotional weight of that fight. All of a sudden, the story is solely about the fight. Once you throw Akainu in that mix, it's not about
ain't no bullshit. It's like,
no BS.
He's on go. He's on go.
It's his own goal. So then at that point, it's like, are we
again?
And then are we gonna be okay with Gear 5 and the gags when he's fighting Akainu? Should Luffy be bouncing around and giggling against Akainu, the dude that literally stabbed? He punched a hole through Ace right in front of him. You want him to be giggling and laughing and trolling?
That's why.
And it's a different fight. That's what I'm saying.
The anime clears.
That's the thing.
Like Lucci versus Luffy in the manga, it was good. But in the anime, I think what they did was they created like an air of uncomfortability where in the Luffy in the anime is like a goofy demon, right? Where they almost have him laughing like it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
How they switch from the laughing to how they animate Luffy blitzing Lucci, it's like, okay,
that was good.
This nigga is actually scary in the anime. You feel that in the anime. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if they capture that, it's gonna be one of those where I think Egghead anime could be better than, you know, Egghead manga, just because they're capturing the essence of what I think Gear 5 should be. It's uncomfortable, it's scary, you don't know what it is. It's like, it's almost like it's Luffy, but it's not at the same time. And I think the anime captures that aesthetic just beautifully. I don't know how they can with the Kizaru fight because it turns into a bunch of shit. But like the Lucci versus Luffy, bro, I have no issues. You
know what that kind of reminded me of? Have you watched Hajime no Ippo or seen some of the fights?
I've seen a good amount of it. I've seen up to Ricardo versus somebody.
Versus Date, I'm guessing.
Whoever it is, he fucking destroyed him.
Okay, well, Ricardo destroyed a lot of niggas, but I guess
it was one of the early Ricardo fights.
Okay, if it's early, then I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm talking about. Have you seen Brian Hawk versus Takamura?
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen that. Okay.
Yes.
You know how wacky Brian Hawk's fighting style is, right?
Yes.
Wacky.
Yes.
The fact that he's so wacky is terrifying. With the damage he can hit you. I think in the anime, you get the same Brian Hawk vibe. Luffy's tweaking, beating his chest, all that lightning. And then Rob Lucci is like, what's going on? And then instantly he's right in your face. And you're like,
scary.
His ridiculousness is the fear. That's the tension where you're like, okay, I'm scared of this dude. I don't know what he's doing. He's tweaking. Like, it's like you see a crackhead on the street and he's just screaming for no reason. He may not hurt you, but you're scared of him because he's like, why he's screaming?
You don't know what he's gonna do. Like,
you don't know what he's gonna do.
And so I think like that moment as well with Lucci and Luffy, what adds to it as well is that like Luffy didn't have to go Gear 5, and it's almost like I'm gonna show you like the difference between us in that moment. And the anime, I think it captures it so well. Lucci very quickly, early on, he realizes, oh shit, like this nigga's different. Even though I gotta give Lucci's props, because Lucci, well, I mean, I can just imagine after Lucci, like he's back with the world government, how every day he's training, thinking about when he gets a chance to fight Luffy again. Every day, just bro, he's in there with Kaku, he's beating everybody's ass, right? He's like, oh, I got awakening now. I'm on another level.
Yeah.
And then he sees Gear 5. He's like, what the fuck? I have no chance.
None.
I have no chance. And so I think that's the thing that Gear 5 adds. And like, I love that aspect of it. It's really hard to capture that in the manga. It's difficult.
Yeah,
but,
no, seriously.
You know, that's part of the Egghead issue. And I think that's not just an Egghead issue, because Wano had the same problems with like fights. I don't know. Like, what do you consider the best fight in Wano? Is it Rift Beast, right? It got to be Rift Beast.
Yeah, it's got to be Luffy versus Kaido. Like, it couldn't be any other fight. Not any of the other fights were really that good. Like, Zoro versus King was cool. Queen versus Sanji was cool. Like, Law, Kid, Big Mom was good.
That's what I'm saying.
I'd say it's good, like, but like,
I don't get it, bro. Because like Zoro versus King, I think would add more emotional impact to the story if King had Conqueror's Haki, and if King actually cared about swordsmanship. Oda went the opposite route. King doesn't care about swordsmanship, and he doesn't have Conquerors. And it's like, it adds nothing in regards to that interaction with Zoro. Nothing. Yeah. It's just that's just Kaido's right hand man, and he has to fight Zoro because he has a blade. That's it.
Yeah, that's
nothing. They have nothing, bro. They have nothing to talk about. They have no emotional impact. Nothing to throw back and forth. Nothing to say, oh, this is what you have to do. And King barely speaks, so it's just Zoro basically carrying the fight. And so it just, with Queen and Sanji, it's cool. But then you have Queen turning away from Sanji, attacking other people,
women and mice. I'm just like, all right, G. Like, I get it.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think Oda at this point necessarily cares about the fights adding to the story. I don't know, yeah. But it feels like he's more, all right, I want to get my story. I'm writing my story, and the fights, we're throwing them in there because conflict is necessary. But I'm like, bro, like, how about we just like have these things intertwined? Like, I think the Katakuri versus Luffy fight, great fight. You know, we don't love the ending. You know, we don't like how that ended because it feels Mickey. It feels Mickey, and I think it was a little Mickey. It was a little bit. I don't know. I mean, we still love One Piece, but just like, you have to acknowledge just how the hype with, especially interactions, the interactions, the hype is great, but then it rarely is living up to what you expect it to be.
Exactly.
And I think that's unfortunate.